Hey guys, welcome back to the weekly Shlog. It's Morgan. There's Zach. He's angry as all get out over here because he's working on a Kawasaki that a kid put the air filter in sideways or backwards or something like that and sucked a bunch of dirt. So having to put new valves in it already. It doesn't have that many hours, but we're getting that fixed. I was on an old Shlog. Anyway, welcome to our weekly vlog here where we show you all kinds of cool things about dirt bikes here in Western Colorado. As you can see, what's first on my list is a little bit of sadness here because this is my old bike, but let's get to it. Alright guys, so first on the left is my old YZ250 Jolene. So really this is an update on the Panthera. Look at Puppers. Hi Puppers. It's a good dog. That's a good dog. You stay there. He's a good girl. So the kid blew the bike up a while back, locked up the crank. Anyway, we got that fixed. That's been on the videos here. But then, just recently, Panthera released a kind of a recall on the flywheel on these things because they were making 110 watts of power, which is a lot, but they were building a bunch of heat, I guess, and when they did that, the stators were failing, and so I hadn't had problems. Hang on, Leandra wants me. What?
Is it okay if he brings these straps?
Anyway, they figured out what was going on is the flywheel magnets were just too strong. That's how you make more power. One way to make more power is you make the magnets really strong. So they had a recall. I hadn't had any problems with it. It had been just fine, so I hadn't sent mine back yet. And the problem is, here's a little bit of a complaint against Panthera. If you've watched most of my videos, honestly, generally, I like the product, but the owner of the company is really hard to deal with, I'll say. Anyway, I thought they should just send me a new flywheel and then I can send them the old one back, but they want the old flywheel. I'm like, I gotta send the thing all the way to Canada, wait and have it sent back. It just seems ridiculous. So I hadn't done it because I hadn't had any problems with it. This dog. So anyway, it failed. It didn't have a spark now, so I think it killed the stator. So we're gonna take that off. I'm not gonna show you, whatever. I'm just going to take the flywheel off and ship it to Canada. They are sending me a call tag, which is nice, but it's still, anyway, a pain in the butt. So I'm going to take care of that, and then we'll get on with some other real work. All right, guys. On the left is the Sherco 2.9 from last Shlog. It's all running good, and that's all I did before. But we found that the fork seals were leaking. We had to order parts for these Paoli forks and also brake pads. So I've never done a set of anyway, whatever you call these things, forks, and so I figured I'll bring you guys along and we'll learn together. I can show you how I go about taking things apart that I've never worked on. Sometimes we get a manual, like we got a whole bunch of them up there and go that way, but a lot of times it's a lot easier, faster, and just as good to just figure it out. So that's what we're going to do. We got the fork off. There she be, right there. So I'm going to put you up in the fork area, and we're going to take this thing apart and see what it looks like, and we'll do seals. Should be interesting. Also, Leandra's right over here wondering where Kevin is. You guys have not delivered on Kevin promises. Actually, I don't know if anybody actually promised Kevin, but we're really hoping for Kevin to show up. Alright, so here's the forks. The old school. I'm going to start calling this style fork upside down. Let's just do that because forever the current style, which is anyway, was the upside down fork, but let's be honest, that's like every bike, even street bikes have that now. So this is an upside down fork now in my world. Here it is. It's old school, no clickers. It's just going to be a damper rod style. So I literally have never taken one of these things apart. I have no idea what it looks like, but I know I got to get this cap off. I know also that there's an Allen down here that we're going to take apart to probably unscrew the damper rod from this to get the thing apart. But this cap, like, there's no way to get a hold of this thing to get it off. So let's take this off, which is some blue thing, and all right, so that blue thing is just a plastic cover that then opens this up, so I guess you can use that to bleed the air out of it, which is good, and it reveals a big Allen. So I'm gonna go grab that. My selection of giant Allens. It's a big one. Alright, so that is a 22 millimeter Allen for anybody that has one of these things. So a little bit of pressure on that, not a ton, so it'll still should be easy to go back in. Cap, cover. We got a big spacer, and this is going to be a stock spacer. This isn't just PVC, they made it because it's got a metal protector here that goes against the spring to keep it from wearing out. Put that there. This up. Take our spring out, making a bit of a mess. We're going to lay that down there. Look at that. It's got a plastic piece on the bottom to protect the bottom of the fork. Now we're going to dump the oil out into our tub. Something about this motion goes well with this mustache. That looks like probably an 8. Alright, so that's an 8 millimeter Allen on the back. We're just going to back this out. Hopefully she comes loose. Alright. It did. All these damper ride style forks are going to have some sort of gasket or crush washer on them, so make sure you don't lose that. Alright, now, like all forks, take a flat blade. We're going to go in between the seal and the tube and twist. This one has definitely been in there a long time. Now we have a circlip like always. I'm going to flip this thing over and just get the damper rod out now. Maybe. There we go. There it is. Talk a little bit about that in here in a second. So now, slide hammer, let's suck it apart. There we go. Some things are falling off, but alright. So, interesting. It's kind of like an old KTM. I'll show you guys here in one second. Just get this out of here. Going to use our seal puller. So, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see in there. No, you can't. Anyway, one of the outer bushings is still stuck in there, as well as the inner bushing that came off the end of the fork. It's not supposed to do that, but everything looks like it's okay. Sometimes things like that happens, no big deal, but I got to get that outer bushing out so I can get the inner bushing out, put this all back together. So I got to figure out how to pull on that thing without hurting stuff. Finally got it out. So with this guy, I couldn't get it deep enough in with the normal pin. So what I did was took a screwdriver, which is a smaller diameter thing, which would let me drop it down, and it got it at the right angle. You saw me just sitting there working around. It took forever, but we got it out. Now There's the inner bushing. Let me show you guys what this looks like. What it's supposed to look like. So that's how it all is going to go in there. And like I said, this is a lot like an old school KTM. They used to have a spacer between these, and what that does is it gives the fork a lot of rigidity this way, so it can't flex so much. Because if it were, you can see it's got surfaces here and here, and then on the inside that keeps it from wanting to move so much. If you had just like this, it'd be easier for this to move. And on a trials bike with these little skinny forks, I could see how that might be a good thing, because it wants to flex and move, and you're like hopping around and stopping and whatever. So with the upside down forks from KTM and White Power, Showa, Gayaba, it's not really so much of a problem anymore. So yeah, anyways, there we go. Take that all off. Got this funky cup washer thing that goes on like that above all of it. But basically it's the same as everything else. So now I gotta clean this thing up, but like always, I'm gonna put a crosshatch in the chrome. And I said take these over to the parts washer, clean them up, and be right back. Alright guys, got everything cleaned up, ready to go. So this is the damper rod. And then just I think I've explained this before, but just kind of tell you how this thing works as opposed to like modern forks. So this is screwed to the bottom, and so it sits down in here like this, and then like I said, it's attached to the bottom, and then as it comes through here, I'll show you like that. There we go. So as this moves like that, up and down, as you move, oil gets forced through these little holes and through these, there we go, these holes, and that provides your damping. So that is the damping, and the only way to change the damping, and so like clickers or valve stacks, shim stacks, things like that, is you can weld these holes up, move them up and down, and change all that. So that is a lost art that doesn't really happen anymore. But so anyway, that's how that works. So what I'm gonna do to reassemble. There we go. So that goes through there. Now this is every one of these damper rod forks has some sort of kind of holder that goes over the end of the damper rod. Now we're gonna take this, and we got to make sure we have this inner bushing already on there. And we can take this, slide this down in here, nice and easy. There we go. And we'll take our holding bolt and run it up in here. We should be able to feel it hit that, and then run it in by hand. You can feel it start. Then we'll finish it off. Alright, now should be good to put our bushings on. There we go. Now we're going to go get our fork seal driver so we can drive that all the way down in. So as we do this, it's super tight in here because this is actually a 38 and I only have a 39. That's okay. We're going to get it done. So it already slid down in there a little bit. So now we're going to take this ring and come in here. I think I've got a 39, a different 39 that I've already had actually machined down to fit in here. Got OEM Paoli fork seals, which I got from Trial Superstore. So if you guys ever you're working on one of these things and you're having a hard time finding parts, Trial Superstore was very helpful with this whole thing. They knew exactly what I was talking about, which was nice, and then got me the parts really fast, actually. So we'll go oil seal. Take our circlip. Alright, now we take our dust seal. I'm going to have to use the driver on this one since we don't have the other part to kind of come down on it, but that's alright. Boom. There we go. Now, I have no idea how much fork oil to put in this thing. I forgot to ask the Trial Superstore people that, so I'm going to either call them or I'll see. If I can look it up on the Bel-Ray Lubricant Advisor. Amazingly enough, I found it on the Bel-Ray Lubricant Advisor. You guys should definitely use this. Just Bel-Ray.lubricantadvisor.com or something. Anyway, whatever. It's awesome. I found it. 20.1 cubic inches per side. So, there we go. Does seem like an awful lot, but whatever. Alright guys, so just looking at that, it looks like way too much. So I did some more research, and while I still love the Bel-Ray Lubricant Advisor, that is way too much oil. It just seemed like too much oil. So it says that really what you want is 330 cc's, which is kind of a sort of maybe close to half that. So I'm wondering if Bel-Ray just got the whole thing wrong on the amount, and you know, just the whole thing. So we're gonna go about 330, and then we're gonna measure the air gap too. But that just looked like way too much oil. And that's the nice thing about having done this for so many years, is that you don't just trust the internet. When you look at the amount of oil they're calling for, you're like, wait a second. So, all right, so most people on the trials forum I was on are saying 150 millimeters. Let's measure 150 millimeters. Our old tool here has graduations on it. Put that at 150. And to measure it, I'm just going to stick it down in there. See if it gets tip wet. It does, just barely, so that's good. Feel good about that. Now, to reinstall the way it came out. Pretty simple. Plastic thing is going to go down to protect the part of the fork. Then metal thing goes onto the spring to protect that. And we take this and we're going to just start it by hand. That was easy. And then we'll chalk it up in the soft jaws and tighten her down. It's super simple. Fork's really easy, but see, that's how we go about it when we're working on something we don't know and we can't get a manual. And honestly, a lot of times I don't want to wait for a manual anyway, so just take it apart slowly but surely. Make sure you pay attention. Put everything back together the way it goes. Also, it does help to have worked on lots and lots of forks in the past, so there we go. Now, I think that the other side is identical, so I'm not going to mess with that, but push up and down, make sure it feels good. Right on. Puppers. Puppers is like our mutual child. So, guys, Zach is getting ready to work on this little TTR 90, and I just have to show you something. So the guy dropped it off, said I need a check over and to get this, put a new spark plug in it. All right. So it's got sweet giant ape hanger handlebars and all that stuff, but let me show you what the first thing we found. So as you look in here, let me see if I can get it from the right angle. All right, there we go. There's so much wrong right here. First of all, there's a broken off spark plug in the hole, so that's bad. That's going to be a mother. And then there's no nuts holding the head on. Just the exhaust right now is holding the head on. So my guess is there's a lot more wrong. Oh, and look. That's awesome. The oil fill cap's broken. Let's see what else we can find wrong. Oh yeah, the throttle doesn't work. It just turns and turns, and so something's wrong there. I don't know, guys. It goes on and on. So this may be a really inexpensive TTR 90 for someone if someone wants to buy it, but we'll get in there and figure it out. That's just, oh my gosh. The things you deal with in the motorcycle shop sometimes. So we'll check in and see what this guy wants to do, and I'll let you guys know. Oh, and yeah, I'm having to work on a street bike. At least it's a motorcycle, not an ATV, but changing tires on this Yamaha. By the way, quick thing, talking against this Kuryakin style thing, because this is here, you can't get your leg really onto the floorboard, which, anyway, whatever. So, anyway, back to work. All right, guys, next on the list is this 2014 450 XCF. Also, real quick, I just need to know who that's watching this knows the song where they say, "Make money, get turned." Because that is right now running through the heads of everybody here at Highland Cycles. And it's best to watch Zach get turned. So, anyway, what's not getting turned is this 450 XCFW. So it came in for a no start situation, and let me show you what happened. So I've got the clutch cover off, obviously, but when I hit the button, nothing is getting turned. So, except for the gears that go to the crankshaft, but the crankshaft is not actually getting turned. So, we've had this problem before on another bike where all that stuff was on the other side attached to the flywheel. This one is, let me show you that again. You can watch right there. So this guy turns, and there's a freewheel inside here. I'll show you that here in a second. That's obviously not grabbing a hold of this crankshaft and turning the motor over. So we got the parts. They're right here. Beep. So I'm going to go ahead and take that stuff off. I got to take the clutch off and everything like that to get down to that. And we'll pull it out and I'll show you what's going on. Alright guys, so I just took the nut off the end of the crank, and it's really cool. It's a left-hand threaded nut, and I don't know if I'm going to focus. There he goes. It says left right there. How cool is that? That's awesome. They actually say that so you don't have to like go the wrong way and risk stripping. Anyway, whatever. That's awesome. Also, that is because so the reason that would be a left-hand thread, because a lot of people might be wondering that, the reason that would be a left-hand thread is this crankshaft turns this way, clockwise, if you're on this side of the bike. And so, because of that, the force of the crank is going this way, which means that the nut, if it were normal threaded, which is, counterclockwise, it would want to maybe walk off as the motor turned. It would spin off. So they put left-hand thread, so you tighten it down going lefty-loosey, and then as it turns, it wants to tighten that. So now you always put Loctite on these things anyway, but anyway, it's pretty cool. So now, let's see. All right, guys, so I don't have the right tool for this thing. Let me show you. If you dig in right there, you can see that there are threads on the outside of this, and so there's a puller that threads on there, pushes on this crank and pops it off. So I don't have that tool. I ordered it. It's on the way, but it's not going to be here before when I want to have this thing back together. So I just talked to our local Snap-on man and came up with this, and I think this is going to work just fine. Like I said, I did order the correct tool, so I'll have it in the future. That's part of the deal here. Like when you work on these things, you pretty much just all the time find new things that you have to buy. But that's all right, because hopefully we work on lots of them and we do more and it pays for itself. This is pretty cool. This is a 2-jaw puller that will work on lots of things. So I'm going to get it on here and I'll show you how it works. All right. There's Leandra. Hi, Leandra. Still waiting on Kevin, people. Still waiting on Kevin. There's no Kevin. We're all pretty upset about that. So, all right, though. If you take a look.
Are you upset about that?
Here, this is pretty sweet. So this bent thing goes right around the shaft, which is nice. And then you can see these hook way back in there, and they fit really nice and snug on both sides. And then these tighten down to keep them from wanting to spread out. So now we're going to grab a socket and a ratchet, and we're going to tighten down. And one of the keys to things like this, so that's on a tapered shaft, just like a flywheel on the other side of the motor, is that you can just go hard on it, and if you have the right puller, it should be no problem and pop right off. But if we're dealing with this, we kind of want to be careful not to mess anything up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of pressure on this thing, then we're going to grab our MAP gas torch and heat that up. And since it's on a tapered shaft, hopefully by heating the outside, it will kind of grow and pop off. We'll go grab everything we need, and then join me as we see if this thing comes flying off of here. All right, gonna come in here. You gotta be careful. This is a plastic gear right here. You don't want this puller to come around and hit that thing. So let me, actually I'm gonna take that gear off. Just got a snap ring. And that's plastic, which is what drives the oil pump, which is also a plastic gear, which I think is ridiculous, but whatever. Now we're gonna use our pliers wrenches here to hang on to this as we tighten this down. Like I said, we're just going to put a little bit of pressure on it. That's all it took. That's sweet. That's really cool. That did not take much pressure at all, and I am really happy about that. Of course, it did fall into the coolant and oil down here, but whatever. So what we're replacing is this gear and this clutch, and there's a, sorry I'm not going to show you, whatever, there's a Woodruff key here, we're going to pop it out. So guys, this is the part that is really doing all the work. So this is called a Sprag clutch, and I'll see if I can show you guys. Alright, so the way, this is the old one. The way a Sprag clutch works is it's got these little guys here. Come on, focus. They're called Sprags. And you can see here what's part of the problem. Focus. There we go. See that spring is all getting jacked up? So that's no good. And some people will try to just replace that spring, and you can do that. And sometimes it helps, but it's not the best. But like, let me see if I can pull one of these out of here to show you. Really? Okay. They want to talk to me. Hang on. So these Sprags. Oh, I feel like AVE. There we go. See that wear spot right there? That's no good. That's what is worn down and making this thing not engage. So it's a one-way clutch. It spins one way or the other, and I'll show you how we check that too in just a second after I talk to Leandra's problem. All right, guys. So the way these work is this goes on to here, and it's kind of hard to see. I'm gonna see if I can force the issue here. You can, I don't know if you guys can see those little guys, but when you rotate it one way they go up and the other way they go down. It's not really showing very well, but let me just show you. So put that on there, you can see that this rotates this way, but you try to go that way and it won't. So this is the thing that's actually getting driven by the starter. So the starter pushes it this way, which then turns the motor and gets the motor started. But then as the motor overcomes the speed, it can rotate without spinning the starter. So there we go. Everything's perfect. I didn't replace this because everything is so hard to get right now. I couldn't get this thing, but it actually looks good. I cleaned it up with some emery cloth. It looks fine. Yeah, we're gonna put this thing back together, test it, and it should be good to go. All right, guys, let's try her out. Oh, just like that. Works good. Happy about that. Now Leandra's gonna bother me again. All right, guys, next on the lift is this 2021 YZ250X. Pretty excited about this being here because we got some really cool stuff to do to it. So I'm going to be filming in-depth videos on all of it. So you have to subscribe and check those out as they come out. But what we're doing is we're putting a big tank on it, putting a smart carb on it, and then putting a recluse on it. So obviously the tank is not a big deal, but smart carb and recluse, we're going to get in depth with those. I'm already noticing some things I'm going to have to give Andy a really hard time about. Like, for instance, he put these on. They clearly don't fit. Andy's not much of one to care about that kind of stuff, but that's hilarious. So anyway, yeah, let's set you down and we'll start with the take the seat tank and everything off and swap that and dig into that carburetor. All right, I think I like it. I got the smart carb installed, running pretty good. It is really easy to adjust, so I'm gonna give it to Andy like that and let him fiddle with it. So now we gotta put the recluse in it. So like I said, I'm gonna film in depth on that recluse install. And so you guys make sure you check that out. Should be pretty interesting. If you've never done one, he got the Radius CX clutch, so it's the nicest one they make. Oh, right on, guys. Sorry, I did not get a chance to put that recluse in the YZ this week. We're going to do it next week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn those little notifications on so that you get to see it, because we are going to be putting Radius CX into that YZ250. It's a 2021, so it's not really different than a 03 or anyway, whatever. I love you guys. I hope that was interesting. If it was, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Give us a like. That would be awesome. I hope you get out and spread the gospel of two wheels, and I desperately hope that what we're doing here at Highland Cycles is inspiring you guys to work on and get out and ride your dirt bikes!